Hi, it's Suzy from Active Seniors with another quick exercise tip for you. Now, with New Year just past us, it's now the time for New Year's resolutions. And a lot of people either want to start an exercise program or be more consistent with their exercise, or alternatively, they want to lose weight, and that usually involves exercise as well. So I wanted to talk to you quickly today about a couple of ways to determine the right intensity of exercise to meet your goals. Now, before we get started, it's really important that I'm going to talk about, moderate intensity and vigorous intensity exercise, but if you haven't exercised at all, it's really good to start at a lower level and build your way up. And if you don't have a good history of exercise, I wouldn't recommend doing vigorous intensity exercises straight away. As I said, you need to build up and build your fitness to that level. Now, with the emergence of smartwatches and fitness trackers, we're really fortunate we can have a look at our heart rate, and that helps to determine how intense our exercise is. Now, if you have had any heart problems before and you do take any heart-based medications, or if you've got a pacemaker installed, obviously your heart rate's not going to be the best reading or the most accurate reading. So another way to determine the intensity of your exercise is by having a look at your perceived exertion, or your RPE. Now, that's using a scale from 0 to 10, and you give a rating on that scale, or a score on that scale, of how intense the exercise is. So 0 on that scale is equivalent to rest. A 5 on the scale is equivalent to a hard effort, and a 10 on that scale is equivalent to a maximum effort, so everything that you could give. All right, so we're going to be talking about those with respect to moderate and vigorous intensity exercise. So moderate intensity exercise, the American College of Sports Medicine advises between 150 and 300 minutes a week, which equates to about 20 to 45 minutes a day of moderate intensity exercise. So what does that mean from a heart rate perspective? Well, that means around 65 to 75% of what your maximum heart rate would be. Now, your maximum heart rate can be calculated in a number of ways. There are a few different equations. The most common and the most simple is 220 minus your age. That gives you your maximum. From there, you want to figure out what 65 to 75% of that value is, and you want to try and keep your heart rate within that range. If that's too difficult, or as I said, if you have any heart complications that make that reading unreliable, you can use RPE. Now, moderate intensity exercise, on that scale of 1 to 10, or 0 to 10, values between 3 and 4. So remembering that 5 was hard, we're not quite at a hard intensity of exercise, but we're not too far off that. Another good way to know that you're at the right intensity is you should still be able to, if someone asks you a question, answer it without too much difficulty. You shouldn't necessarily be able to sing a song or whistle a tune, but you should be able to answer that question, okay? Vigorous intensity, on the other hand, and that's only for people who have good exercise experience and have the ability and the safety to get to that level, you're only looking at a shorter amount of time per week, because you're working the heart at a harder rate, and you're getting a little bit more benefit from doing that as well from a longevity perspective. So that's the recommendations are 75 to 150 minutes per week, and that equates to about 10 to 25 minutes of vigorous intensity exercise per day. Now, from a heart rate perspective, you're looking at 76% to 96% of your maximum, so it's much higher intensity. And on that scale, that RPE, 0 to 10, with 5 being hard, you're looking at between 5 and 7 on that scale. So we're not working to our maximum, but we're still working into the very hard range there. And if someone were to ask you a question and you were doing vigorous intensity exercise, you wouldn't be able to necessarily string a sentence together very easily. You would be saying a few words and then you need to take a breath because you're breathing heavily. So I hope that that's given you some useful information about the different intensities of exercise that you should be aiming for. And we look forward to sharing more tips with you in the future. Stay safe, stay active, and we'll see you soon.